So the first thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to create a subnetwork, and I'm just going to connect it down here, okay? And just for now, I'm going to lower the resolution by 3.09, just save a lot of time. So I'm diving inside my subnet, okay? So let's rename this article advection. Okay, so first thing, I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna create straight a subnetwork. Why? Because this is where I'm gonna scatter my particles. Okay, because we're going to be inside an OTL. I don't want to have to call some outside elements and have to rebuild all my emission. Okay, so I'm gonna create my emitter in here, and then from there I'm gonna bring it into my DOP network. So I'm gonna bring an object merge. So this is gonna bring the same emitter I'm using for my fluid source, okay, for my fire. So I'm gonna rename it to object merge __ source. Okay, so actually let me quickly bring here on my emitter my outsource fuel 1. Okay, so if I go quickly to the detail view to my primitive attributes, we can see we have fuel and temperature. Actually, I'm going to check later, but yeah, but for now I'm gonna leave it like this. So now I'm just gonna go add a delete sub. Okay, I'm gonna go here and pattern put 0 and delete non-selected. So like this, I'm keeping the fuel. Oops. Okay, so I'm getting rid of the temperature in any other field that would be there. Like if I would add velocity, for example, I'm just keeping now only the density. So now I'm gonna put a VDB. VDB from I think it's this one I'm looking for. So yeah, now I'm just gonna copy paste this one and switch it to polygons, and now just change my ISO value to, yeah, I have something like this, so close to let's say 0.1. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put a points up, and I'm just gonna add normals, because if we look at it, we don't have any normals, even though if I display them we can already see them in viewport, but they're not stored as attributes. Okay, so we're going to store them now. So I'm just gonna go here to add normals. Okay, so now if I look at it, here we can see we have the normal stored inside the attribute. So just want to double check something really quickly here. So that seems to be okay. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put the VOPs up, and I'm gonna create an up attribute. So that's just gonna be for the rotation later on, you know, to give it a set point. So I'm gonna go here, like cross product, grab the normals and go from like 101. I'm just gonna add a normalize. Just want to make sure that I normalize all my values, and then here I'm gonna go with not attribute, and I'm gonna, oops, no, second one, call this one up. Okay, there we go. And okay, just make sure that they're all normalized, just in case. It should be, but just want to make sure it is. So I just copy paste the normalize node in here. Okay, so if now I would like to display, I'm gonna add the attribute, so I have it here already. So now here we're looking at that up attribute. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna use a scatter. Okay, so now I have all my points scattered here on the surface. I'm just gonna turn off the normals. Okay, and I'm gonna add a copy sub and pivot. I'm gonna, oops, sorry. Go and type $CEX $CEY, and great. Okay, so it crashed. Thanks for no reason. So I'm gonna just reload my file. Okay. Okay, so it crashed a couple of times. I don't know exactly why that happened. So what I did, I just added the other expression here, okay, to get my pivot at the center. And now I'm just gonna change my uniform scale like 0.9, and it crashes again. Okay, so there's something that CopySub doesn't like. So I'm gonna try to do to get it to work without crashing. So let me just reopen that file. So one thing I usually do when it crashes, I just go like in the network view, so it's not gonna cook really, and you could even go to manual mode as well. So now I'm gonna bring my file in. Yeah, manual mode, get overridden by the state it was in my file. So just for now, I'm gonna go to manual, save it. Okay, so now it saved it as a manual mode. So next time I'm gonna open my file, it should be in manual mode. So I'm gonna try to do what I want it to be doing in here. So it's not gonna cook my node. Okay, so I'm gonna just go to 7 copies, and I'm gonna now scale it down to 0.9. So every copy it's gonna be a little bit smaller, and it's gonna bring down my points closer to the origin. Okay, every single time. And doing this, why I did it like this and I didn't scatter it inside the volume, it's just to keep always the same attributes value I had based on the surface. Okay, so let me save now the file. Okay, and hopefully when it's going to cook it, it's not going to crash. Okay, so it didn't crash. Oh no, it did. So we're going to reopen one more time. Okay, so just reopened it, and okay, I really want to figure that out, because I didn't have that issue before, because it's crashing without break. So that's getting really annoying. So we're going to see if we can troubleshoot it together, because if you might have that same issue, so it might be interesting to figure that out. So okay, let's go back here. So we got a volume, so that's fine. This is all fine. So I'm gonna lock this one, and I really wonder, because it's when I start to change the viewport, try to move in the viewport, that it crashes. So okay, hold on. I'm gonna get it to crash one more time. That's one thing I want to look at quickly. Okay, so now I want to just have a look to the temp. It should, I should have in here a crash log. Where did this one go? I'm just trying to find the log file. So that local temp. Okay. Okay, it really seems to be, to me, something related to the viewport more than anything else. So let's try something else. So the one thing I want to try quickly, it's to check my preferences. Okay, go back to GL 3.3 because for some reason I had it to the other one. Hopefully that's all it is. So okay, and is it going to crash? That's the big question. No. Okay, so yeah, was just a viewport issue. So if for some reason it crashes, yeah, make sure you have the proper viewport set. And yeah, if you want to kind of know what's going on when it crashes, most of the time it's gonna create a log file like this one, a crash log. Okay, so you will find it into your username app data local temp folder, and it's gonna tell you kind of what's going on in there, what was the last thing it did before it crashed. So in that case, I really see here it's really a viewport issue, so that's kind of told me where to look at. Okay, doesn't mean you're gonna be able always to fix it, because it could be something you don't have access to, right? So, but it's always kind of helpful to look at it and see what's going on in there. It might not always be really easy to understand those crashes. I don't know if I have some other log files here that that's a viewport again. Just wondering if I have some other. Let me just check. What is this one? So this is something more. It looks like to be a Python error. But yeah. This one I don't know. Just looking at it like this, what it exactly is. But yeah, you always get information, and then you can just like do some research regarding those errors. Okay. Now I'm just gonna go back to what we were doing. Okay, so now I'm gonna create another scatter. So this one was just to get a point cloud with my normals and up values. So if we look at it, it's not really easy to read because there's quite a lot of points. Let me just for now go to my scatter here and just put like 50 of them, so we can really see what's going on. See, so we get these kind of lines here of points with this exact same values. So that's kind of what I was looking for. Okay, so now this is going to be really the points I'm going to use and emit. So this one I'm gonna start for now like Yeah, I'm gonna use 50 right now. Again, that's going to be changed at the upper level once we're making an OTL out of it. Now I'm just going to use an attribute transfer. Actually, let me bring this one here, because I like always to have what's coming in the first input on the left and what's coming in the second input on the right. It makes it easier to read than just having it crossing over like this. So I'm just gonna change the color here, so that's gonna be my emitter. Yeah, I'm gonna make it this object merge, and I'm gonna copy points. So I'm gonna grab my normals and up. And condition, I'm gonna turn off distance threshold, because like this is always gonna look for the closest one. Okay, so now I could just display here, oops, up. That works. So now we're going to create an attribute called life. So attribute create. Life. Life, and that's going to be a float. Okay, and finally I'm just going to create an attribute called random. Because I don't want to compute now like an ID attribute, so I'm just going to create a random value that's going to be stored per point. Okay, so I'm just going to go random point number. This one is going to go based on time. So let me just go up here, and I'm going to put like an add node. And I'm going to fit this. And I'm going to add an attribute rand, and I'm going to call this rand. Actually random, not rand. Random, and I'm going to put it straight in capital here, because otherwise it's not going to create for me the local variable. And before, I'm just going to bypass this, because remember I had to do that. I need to just know what's going to be the biggest value. Okay, seems to be 1.3. 1.6. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. Okay, so I'm just gonna catch everything what's between 0 and 2.5. We should be good in always getting something between 0 and 1. Okay. Okay, good. So, one other thing I just want to double check, because okay, that's fine. No, I just double check, because if the normals were still there, because I've been having sometimes some issues, but with ups. Okay, good. So this being done, now I'm just gonna add a node, sorry, and that's gonna be I'm gonna call this one out dub scatter. Okay, so there, that's gonna be, I'm gonna call just this one like scatter. Okay, so uh, yeah. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm gonna start to create the different nodes I'm gonna need to be able to get this to work inside DOBS. So first thing I want to do, I want to be able to visualize my points. Okay, so I'm gonna go here with sup geo. I'm gonna plug it, get the first input. Okay, coming from my solver, and I'm gonna grab here in my scatter my output node and export relative path. Okay, so I'm leaving the data name to geometry. That's fine. Now one thing I want to do, because I want to be able make sure I'm going to be able to control the visualization in the viewport. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a rendering parameter volatile node, and this one, what it's going to do, it's going to let me to turn on the display and turn it off. Okay, so if I put it at 0, we can see we don't see the points anymore, and if I put it at 1, they're visible. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this visual. Okay, oh no, actually, display points. Okay, here we go. Fine. So now, when I use the subgeo, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna kind of log my geometry data. Okay, so because I want to update my geo, my points, I'm gonna need to put a geometry copy node. This one is just gonna allow me to modify the data. Okay, that's been locked in here, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to kind of change my points. So I'm just gonna change the color quickly to these to make them gray. Okay, and now I'm gonna straight add a multi solver. Bring this in the first one, so that's gonna be my output. And now I'm gonna create here the advection fields. So the first one I'm gonna need is a gas match field. So what this one does is gonna create me like a new field based on the settings from an existing one. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna grab the reference one here, that's going to be my velocity. So it's going to create a field that matches the size of the velocity one, and I'm going to rename code this one like ADV for advection. Okay, at that point now it's going to be empty. Okay, it's not storing the velocity values in there, it's just having the exact same size. And the one thing I'm going to change here, the default operation, I'm going to set it to set always to make sure it's updated every time it cooks. I'm going to put down a merge. So the order is important, okay, because it's left inputs affect right. So next one, I'm going to go with gas calculate. So this one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy actually the velocity now values and put them inside my new field. Why I'm doing this, because it's just like this, I'm never going to affect straight the velocity at my network here. I'm always going to be able to change if I want the advection field without breaking my entire sim. Okay, Like this, my velocity stays untouched. So source field val. So I'm gonna leave this. This one, we're going to expose it later. For now, I'm just gonna multiply it by 5, just to make it stronger. And that's it for this one. So I'm just gonna plug it here, and now I'm gonna plug this into my multi-solver. Now I'm gonna put a sub solver. Okay. So inside my sub solver, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna take my dub geometry. So I'm gonna be able to grab my points like this. Okay, so I'm gonna change the geometry that I have, and I'm gonna put here geometry. I'm gonna plug it here. So okay, now we can see it grabbed my points. Okay, so nothing is happening here. So the first thing we're going to do now, we're going to update the life attribute. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a VOP sub, and this one is gonna be, I'm gonna call it like update life. Okay, so here I'm gonna import float my life. Okay, and I'm gonna add node. I'm gonna make this one a constant value of 1 because I just want to add 1 every time. Okay, and actually I'm not gonna use import, I'm just gonna use a bind. I'm just used to work with binds by node. So no, bind export. So and this one life. Why is it erroring? Life already used. One. Yeah. Why is this one now erroring? I'm doing this. Life. Okay, so what I think is happening there. Let me just check this. No, actually. So for some reason it doesn't want me to use this. So okay, I'm not gonna spend time with this. I'm gonna import it. There, and then add attribute. Life, and I don't need this too. Just need this. Okay. Okay, so that just update is gonna update my life. Okay, if I just display now live, it just doesn't show it. We will look at it later. It doesn't cook when I'm inside the subsolver. Oops, sorry. Okay. Next step is going to put an add sub, and here what we're going to do, just going to create a particle system. And finally, I'm going to add another verb sub. And now I'm going to advect my points. Okay. So I'm going to copy paste my .geo. And I'm going to plug this one into my second import of my verb sub. And here I'm going to grab my ADV field. Okay. So inside my verb sub, let me just bring it like this. So I'm gonna use the data from my volume. Okay, so I'm gonna use a volume sample position. I'm gonna plug it inside the position P. Okay. Up input and index 1, because we're taking it coming from my .geo. Okay. And I'm gonna copy paste this one twice. So that was primitive number 0 for X. That's gonna be Y, so 1. And finally here we're going to get Z. Oops, so 2. 0, 1, 2, and now we're going to go for a float to vector, and I'm just gonna plug these in here, and now I'm gonna use this as a velocity value on my points. Okay. And I'm just gonna add a null. Call this one out. Okay. Now, next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a gas advect. And I'm gonna plug it in here. And what I'm gonna grab here as geometry, I'm gonna grab my geometry. And velocity field advect, update position attribute, and that should be good. So now I'm gonna go up here and let's see if that worked. So it doesn't seem to update it, so let's check what's going on in there. So, okay, so first thing I want to check. So that's on, okay. So, oh, I think that was it. Let me check if that was it. Because I had the rank as scalar instead of being a vector. So I think that must have been the only real issue in here. So let me just go back up, reset. Yeah, that was it. So let's turn that off. So now I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna source pre-multiply. I put it back down to 1. So it's not as strong anymore. Okay. Okay, so that works. So we see our points are now advected. Okay. And now what we're going to do, I'm just gonna put a null down here. Call this one out. And I'm gonna make it an OTL. So right click, create digital asset. So I'm gonna store this one. Actually, no, job here. Houdini OTL. So you can save it in your wherever you want. Not whatever you want, because if you want it to be loaded automatically, so you want to go to your user directory, then Houdini 13 OTLs, and you could save it here, okay? And that would load your OTL every time you run Houdini. But if you're working in a pipeline environment where you have already like environment variables set for Houdini to look for your OTL files, you could put it in one of these directories, and that's my case. So I already have Houdini looking at that OTL directory, so I'm going to save it in here, and I'm going to call this one the particle advection .otl. Okay, so then here I'm gonna call it particle advection colon 1.0. So that's the version, okay, and minimal input 1, maximal input 1, and I'm just gonna do accept. So now also the subnet. Okay, so I'm gonna have to see. Okay, yeah, that's fine for now. I'm gonna go straight to parameters. Now I'm gonna click on that icon here and turn off both things with the prefix, okay? Because I don't want to have any prefix in the names. And now I'm gonna dive in here. I'm gonna go straight to the scatter. And I'm gonna go to my object merge, and I'm gonna select object 1, and I'm gonna drag it here, and that's gonna be I'm gonna call this source path. Okay, now next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to this scatter here. I'm gonna put the number of point here, and I'm gonna call this count. Okay, so that's gonna be how many points I'm gonna scatter. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm gonna go here to my gas advect, and I'm gonna grab the time scale and put it here. So that's if I want to change the time scale value, okay, of my advection. That could be a good parameter to have exposed. Now I'm gonna change a few things inside my subsolver to have a better control, because I want to be able to control if I'm gonna scatter points every frame, or if I'm gonna scatter points only once, okay? And just one thing I want to do really quickly before I do that, I go back to my scatter here. And on that scatter sub, I'm gonna just change random seed. I'm gonna do just $F. Okay, so it's just gonna change the position every time of where my points are. So I'm just gonna apply this, and if I look right now what I have here, Okay, I'm just gonna, for now, go here and turn this one off. Okay. So now I'm gonna go back down here to my subsolver. So here I'm gonna go with an object merge. And I'm going to grab inside my scatter here my out top scatter. Okay, so I'm gonna have my 50 points, and I'm gonna call this like points scatter points. Now I'm gonna put a switch and a null. Okay, grab those two. Oops. Just change the color here. That's, and here I'm gonna put an expression, and I'm gonna do $f is bigger than, and I'm gonna grab now, actually before I'm gonna do it in an easy way, I'm gonna grab the start frame of my solver here. Okay, so start frame, so copy parameter, and now I'm gonna dive back in, right click, paste, copied relative references, and now I'm gonna do $f is bigger than start frame plus 1. Okay, see 0, and now at frame 3 it is. Okay, okay, good. So now I'm gonna add another switch, and I'm gonna explain what those switches are doing. So switch 1 to switch 2, then object merge coming straight here, and I'm gonna rename this emit or continue continuously. Yeah. Okay. And let me just grab this and put a merge here. Okay, so now I'm gonna get my parameters back here, and I'm gonna grab here my input and emit continuously. I'm gonna apply. Okay, yes, I still have a reference, so that's okay. So if now I go back up here, okay, I have my emitter count, emit continuously is set to 0, so if I just play, okay, that's what we have. If now I switch it to 1, you can see I'm feeding more points every frame. Okay, every frame I'm feeding 50 extra points, and it's just adding those points to them, like a normal particle network would do. Okay, so one thing I'm going to change right away here, I'm going to switch this from integer to toggle. down here because I just need a value of 0 or 1. Okay. So another thing I'm going to bring here, sorry, on my subgeo, no, display points here, I'm gonna use the display here and bring it here, this one, switch it to toggle as well, apply okay, so that's fine. Yeah, that warning I'm getting, it's because of my expression inside my subsolver here that's pointing to a node that's outside the OTL, okay? Because I'm getting out, it just warns us to say, hey, careful, you have something that's not part of the OTL, okay? That reference, but that's okay because we're going to use it always in a network, and so we're always going to have that parameter there available. Just make sure if you dive deeper, like if you would have another subnet and then inside that subnet bring your network, you might want to have to update the that expression here. So yeah, if I just go here, turn off display, okay. And the last thing we're going to bring in here is going to be what I'm going to bring here. So I have the count, time scale, and the speed multiplier, okay. So if I go down here to my source penalty, and I bring this one here, okay, and val multi, no, not val, advection multi, okay, accept, okay. So now if I go up here, I can change that multiplier, okay, and now we're going to see it's gonna go again crazy, okay. So that's not something we want, so I'm gonna leave it to 1 or even 2. I'm gonna save my file. Okay, that seems to be working. Okay, so if I just put my head back here, okay, so we could have like this, like, or node. So yeah, as you can see, once they go out here, they're not affected by any fields anymore, so they're just moving linearly. So we could just create it a more complex setup, you know, like having some external nodes fields going on it, but for now I'm not going to change this. I'm going to leave it like this, okay. So yeah, that's working. So the next step is going to be to save all these different elements, okay. So the next video we're going to see how to separate all different layers, so the fire, the points, plus a display cache again.